Baby, I'm the gamble of your life. Why you always gotta think twice? We could go at it all night till the morning till you can't even go no more.
Hey, one thing that I failed to mention last night that I thought was really critical to our success, and not only yesterday, but the entire season. I know when I first got up here, really challenged our fans, and I thought they responded well. I thought they really created a home field advantage for us throughout the course of the year, and I just want to, give a big thanks to all our fans out there.
How long did you take to celebrate last night personally, or did you take no time at all and just dig right back into work?
No, I relaxed with my family for about an hour or so, then went to bed and got in here nice and early and got to work.
Coach, how do you think you're a different football team from that Week 12 game to now, and some of the things maybe that helped you from that game against San Francisco? Here we go.
Yeah, well, I'd like to think that we've improved throughout the course of the season, especially the last 6 weeks or whatever it's been. Certainly, I don't think we played our best that day, and you got to give them a lot of credit. That was probably a reason for that. That's a really, really talented football team, and we know that. But in order to compete with them, in order to have a chance to beat them, we're going to have to be at our best, and that's everybody, all 11 on that field. And it is a big challenge, but certainly one that I think our guys will prepare for and be ready to go.
A couple of your players said we didn't come out with maybe the right plan for us or focus, and maybe we were a little sluggish in that game in particular. What might you change going into this week?
Well, I think we'll look at everything. We'll certainly look at the plan in all three phases because they got after us in every phase. And, we adjusted a little bit of the travel, but for the most part, it's gonna stay relatively consistent. I've talked to a lot of guys in terms of, the sports science, in terms of how can we have our players prepared, ready to go from just what it's going to take in terms of their bodies and whatnot. And one thing, it is only a 2-hour time difference, and just all the study tells you that if we can keep it as normal as possible for our guys, that gives them the best chance to be at their optimal performance level.
And an extra challenge might that be if guys are still dealing with this bug going around, managing getting them healthy in that way?
Yeah, that's just something that we're going to have to deal with. I thought our guys did as good as possible. I was really happy with our athletic training staff, with our doctors. We kept a lot of guys that weren't feeling well out of the building. So hopefully that's behind us, but we'll see.
Do you expect taking any more precautionary measures for the next few days?
In terms of the health?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, just anybody that's feeling ill, we're gonna keep them away from our guys, and we've tested all these guys for the flu, and a lot of the cases it wasn't the flu. I think Balaga's a prime example. That I think it was just a 24-hour bug or whatever it was, and he's feeling better today.
Aaron was talking last night about how the connection he had with Devontae, kind of unspoken. He just knew what he was going to do, reminded him of what he had with Jordy. In your past ups, have you seen that? Maybe Matt and Julio, guys that just knew what each other was going to do without having to say anything?
Yeah, that's years of practice together. And those guys were clicking yesterday, and we needed it because they made some huge plays down the stretch. Obviously, it was apparent on those 2 touchdown catches, but there was just a lot of critical key third downs where they came through.
I was going to ask you about what was so effective about third down. It's been up and down for you guys all year. I mean, even yesterday you had some third and longs, like in that last drive that you converted. Yeah,
I think our guys were confident in what we were asking them to do, and ultimately they went out there and executed. And, it wasn't just, the concepts or whatever. It was up front, blocking. We had some running backs like Aaron Jones stepped in there on a couple of those pressures and were able to stone the blitz, and our guys up front did a good job.
As a defense, is it a different challenge when you go into a game knowing that the opposing offense likes to run as much as 21 personnel as the Niners do?
I think our guys are used to it. I mean, they see it from us in practice, but they've got a lot of great players. You talk about Kyle Juszczyk, and he's an elite fullback in this league, and he's very versatile. And I know they're going to try to get him involved in this game.
Matt, how do you handle, just from the film perspective of the Week 12 game? Do you go over it again, or do you not, or coaches and players handle it differently, or how do you use or not use that game moving forward?
Yeah, I think you got to look at everything and learn from your mistakes, so you don't repeat them.
Matt, when did you get a sense that you had a real buy-in from this group of guys?
I think pretty early on, and there's nothing like reinforcing that, but then going out there and winning games. But I've loved this crew from the day I met all these guys, and I really think that they've done a great job coming together and playing as a team.
And Aaron said you guys put together a quarterback sneak reel of him. How did that come together, and was it a preparatory thing so you could use it, or was it give him a little grief kind of a thing and loosen up the guys? What was it?
Yeah, that was something that I think came about in the offensive line room. So I didn't actually watch the whole QB sneak reel. Maybe I wouldn't have called it. I don't know.
Matt, some of the guys that Brian's picked up during the year, Valvier, Irvin, Ryan Grant were there, and then even some of the free agents during the offseason, Redmond, Sullivan, those guys have played decent roles for you. Does he bring these guys to you and just say, I'm thinking about him, what do you think? Or is he, constantly churning and saying, I want to bring this guy in, I want to look at this guy, I want to try this guy?
Yeah, no, he always, Goody and his staff do a great job, and they're always trying to look at ways to improve our football team. And sometimes it's, hey, we're gonna make this move, and other times is, what do you think about this? And but the communication's always there, and thankfully he's made a lot of great moves. I give him a lot of credit for our success. I mean, we wouldn't be where we are if he hadn't made those moves.
So how did Urban's, you obviously brought him in as punt returner first, but how did it kind of expand into what we're seeing now, jet sweeps, carries, some routes? How did that evolve?
It just is, it kind of happened organically, obviously you can see the talent when he's a returner, but you also see it in practice when whether he's working with the scout team, and then just watching his body movement and knowing his background. It definitely afforded us, because typically we've only dressed two halfbacks. So we started giving him some carries as an emergency back, and then you watch him and watch his progression and see how easy he's picking things up and how fast he's learning the offense. And then you start, expanding that role. And he is, he's a unique talent, because he has some of that same versatility as Aaron Jones has. So, we'll continue to try to mix him in within our offensive scheme as well.
You mentioned how you strike an elite fullback. People think of George Kittle as an elite tight end. A lot of them think about his receiving ability, but blocking-wise, how crucial is he to what they do on the ground?
Yeah, I think he's extremely valuable for them. You just don't find too many fullbacks that have that versatility where he can block, then he can sneak through, and you can get him on even the second and third levels, and he's catching passes out the backfield. They've got a good complementary group when you talk about him, Kittle, some of those receivers, Sanders, Deebo Samuel. It's a really talented core of skilled players.
Back to Tyler Urban, how important was his decision to let that ball go late in the game to set up your 4-minute offense there? 'Cause I imagine that's a really drastic change in play calling, maybe you're thinking from the 8 or 10 to the 20?
It's extremely different. That was a great decision by him. It was a great, just a great decision. And it's definitely limits your play calls when you're backed up as opposed to getting that ball on the 20-yard line.
Hey Matt, back to Valdir really quick. Something I was curious about, with all your connections to the GLIAC, did you ever come across him at all, with his time either at Hillsdale or just in the recruiting process?
I think there was a little carryover when I was coaching at Ashland University and he was still playing at Hillsdale. But, obviously anytime somebody comes from the GLIAC, you definitely give notice to that. So I'd known of him prior to him coming here.
And in a situation like that, are you pretty much just trusting Brian and the personnel department's opinion that he could help you when you take a guy like that in mid-season who hasn't played in a year?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And, obviously I got a ton of trust in Goody in that group. And it's been big for us because he stepped in twice now and played some big-time football, big-time minutes. And I thought he played a really good game, and especially considering the circumstance. I mean, he didn't know until warm-ups that he was going to be starting. So that's not always easy to do, but it just shows you what a professional he is and the mindset that you always prepare like a starter. And, I thought he did a great job.
How about for you on that? Obviously, your whole game plan is centered on Brian doing his thing. Are you, during that hour and a half, whatever it is, are you kind of mentally at least making some mental adjustments to, if you need to do something, go to that? How did that work on your end?
No, we had a lot of confidence in him. I told you guys yesterday, I didn't, for 1 second in that game, I didn't think about altering a play call. And that's a credit to him and the way he was playing.
Matt, Aaron was telling us yesterday, so the touchdown to Devontae where you run that fake rub, he suggested that on Monday or something?
Yeah, so we had run that play a few times. That's something that he's done in his past out of more of a two-man combination. And, brought that up to our attention, and, we thought it'd be a great addition to what we're doing. And that's the value of having a veteran quarterback like that is, he's got a great memory, number one, and can remember some of the stuff that he's done in his past, and it certainly helped us in that game because that was a big time play.
So you were talking before about communication with Goody, right? So we asked you 1,000,001 relationship questions about you and Rodgers. He tells us that story, and then he also said that he and Devontae were talking at halftime about the play that turns into the other touchdown, and then he talked to you about it. Come on, you don't have to do what they ask you to do all the time, but what's your kind of philosophy as a coach to be that open-minded to their suggestions? You're not going to run everything they ask you to run, but what's kind of your philosophy on that? Because it obviously paid dividends.
Yeah, if it makes sense, why wouldn't you do it? It doesn't matter where it's coming from. We've got a lot of assistants up there that come up with great plays. It doesn't always have to come from one person. And I think, you got to rely on the collective unit. And it doesn't matter if it's necessarily a player, a coach, whoever. If it makes sense, why wouldn't you do it?
Man, is it more fun to beat your friends or your brother, and conversely, is it even worse to lose to those guys?
Yeah, there's always that rivalry there, but it's just part of the business. I think you get used to that, and once the ball's kicked off, you're not even thinking about that.
What kind of adrenaline did you have last night coaching in that game?
You know what? It felt pretty normal, to be honest with you. There was one time where I looked up and, our crowd was waving all those towels, and I was like, this is pretty cool. But for the most part, you're locked into the moment, and it's just about, coaching football.
Now, was it important to you, and maybe important for your offensive line, to punch that 1 yard run in after 3 tries? I mean, I know the situation in Philadelphia where you ran it 4, probably wanted to get in. Was that important for you to be able to punch that in running the ball?
Yeah, well, it was definitely not easy, and that was a stout defense, especially once you started to get inside that 5-yard line. We knew it was going to be tough, and I shoot on one of the touchdown runs. We had Jake Kumro blocking Jadeveon Clowney. I mean, you don't see that very often. Just how we drew it up, right? And but that was a great job, and no, it's a credit to those guys up front. It's a credit to our tight ends, Jake, all those guys, the backs. Aaron Jones does such a great job of getting downhill and finding a sliver and being able to cross the goal line.
We've asked you a lot about these illnesses. I think Kenny was the only one who had like an actual physical injury. Then I think he had that play where he missed Russell and then chased him down for a sack. What have you learned about him? I mean, it's pretty rare what he does from a pure nose tackle spot and getting into the backfield. How impressed do you continue to be for a guy who's only 24 years old?
Yeah, he's a dominant player, and he comes to work every day, and he's a pro, and he works hard. And shoot, the first third down of the game, he did a great job of pushing the center back, and Dean Lowry played his gap, and we stuffed Marshawn on a short yardage situation for about a half yard or whatever it was. But Kenny's been consistent all year long, and I think he's probably a little underrated, in my opinion. And but we're certainly fortunate to have a player of that caliber on our football team.
Two more, please.
Hey, Matt, going back to Rob's question about facing Mike and Kyle and all those guys. You said that you were kind of inoculated against it by playing them with the Rams. But when you look back on that game in Week 12, did you think too much about, okay, well, I know Kyle likes to do this, and I know Robert likes to do this, and is there anything you want to do differently there in terms of this week, like just saying, all right, we need to do what we do, or anything like that, or how do you kind of self-evaluate that?
Yeah, no, I think that tends to happen at times, maybe, and I got to go back and watch that tape again and to really try to grasp what happened and why it happened and how can we adjust and what are we going to do to ensure that it doesn't happen. But that'll happen over the next couple of days.
Given how self-critical you've been since we've gotten to know you, is that something that some coaches would say burn the tape and pretend it never happened? Do you not subscribe to that mentality?
I'm going to look at everything. And everything that anybody that's had success against them, I mean, that's a really good team in all three phases. They got one of the top defenses. I think that's one of the top offenses, and they're really solid on special teams. So I got a lot of respect for everybody over there. Richard Hightower does a great job with the special teams. You all know my relationship with Robert and what I think about him, and not only as a person but as a football coach. And then I think Kyle does as good as anybody at drawing up plays and scheming people as there is in the National Football League. So we're going to have a big challenge in front of us. But, it's something that I think our guys are going to roll up their sleeves and come in and prepare the right way and be ready to go.
Baby, I'm the gamble of your life. Why you always gotta think twice? We could go at it all night till the morning till you can't even go no more. You like it, don't even deny it.